Hi everyone, welcome to another digital class at basicgrey.com. Today we're going to be making this 12 by 12 page using the Sultry starter kit and also one flourish from the flourishes. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to minimize this page here so that it's out of the way while we work. And also so I have an idea of where we're heading. I'm going to start out with a new document by going to File, New Blank File. And I'm going to change pixels to inches so I can see how big it's going to be. And I actually want it to be 12 by 12 at 300. So I'll hit OK. Alright, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in that green background paper. So I'm going to drag and drop from the project bin. The next thing we're going to do is bring in that brown paper. I'm going to drag and drop from the project bin once again. I'm going to pull out this bottom corner so I can see the corners of the brown paper a little bit better. And we're actually going to make it smaller and rotate it just a little bit. So I'm going to rotate about that much. And I'll hit OK. Hi, honey. It's my cat. Sorry. He's wants some attention. And now I'm going to make it slightly smaller, but have it centered while it goes smaller. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and then click and drag. And that changes the size from the center of the shape instead of from the corner. Okay, I'll hit the green check mark to lock that change in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in that flourish, but we're using the flourish as a brush. When you buy the flourish kit from basicgrey.com, it comes with an ABR file, which is a brush file that can be used in Photoshop and Photoshop Elements. So I actually already have it loaded in my brush palette. So I'm going to hit the letter B, and that selects my brush right here. And I'm going to come over here and select the brush file that I want. And then I'll come right here. And you'll notice it comes in really small. You can make it larger a couple different ways. You can come up to size and use the slider and make it larger or smaller. Or you can use some keys on your keyboard. The bracket keys that are up by the letter P, those brackets go down and up. So I'll go down, and then I can also go up. So I'm going to make this quite a bit larger, about like that. And I'm going to start a new layer so that it's not going to disturb that brown paper underneath. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to make sure it's a color that we're going to see. So I'm going to make the foreground color white. And then I'm just going to click once, and that stamps, quote unquote, stamps that flourish down onto that layer. So we're going to be making it a brown color. I'm going to select my move tool so I no longer have that brush anymore. I'm going to make it a brown color, but it's going to be a more intense brown color. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to click and drag the brown paper onto the document. And then I'm going to do Command G for a clipping mask. And what that did was it made that brown paper go down into the flourish that's in the layer below. You can't see it right now because it's the same brown. So we're going to bring in that same brown color once again. And we're going to do Control G again. And now we're going to come to the layers palette and change the setting for that layer from normal to multiply. And you're going to see that pop out. So now that we have that all together, I'm going to select all three layers, and I'm going to merge them by doing Command E or Control E if you're on a PC. And I'm doing that just for ease of use to make sure, this is how I know it's going to end up. So I'm going to go ahead and merge those layers now. If I wasn't sure if that's how I wanted it to be, I would leave those layers intact until the very end of the layout, until I'm finished. Okay, so let's bring in the photo. And I have this photo of my nieces, and it's about 6 by 4. I'm just going to bring that in right there. All right, and now I'm going to, let's see, what do we need to do next? We're going to draw a rectangle using the shape tool, the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to, it's going to be a really thin strip over on the side. And then I'm going to bring in the green paper and do a clipping mask once again by doing Command G or Control G if you're on a PC. Okay, now I'm going to bring in this little tag. And with the move tool selected, I'm just going to bring it over to the side. And we're actually going to move it behind the photo. Behind the photo, but in front of that shape we just drew. So I'm going to move the shape and the color that's filling the shape down below. Let's see, it's going to go below the tag. There we go. All right, now we're going to bring in a little heart element that's going above the photo. This little heart here. It's rotated, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate it back so it's standing straight up. Hit the green check mark to lock that in. I'm also going to make it slightly smaller. I'll hit that green check mark. And then I'm going to move the heart up to this top corner. I want the heart to be pink because I want it to really stand out in that top corner. So I'm going to drag in the pink paper and doing a clipping mask with Command G or Control G if you're on a PC. That just makes that shape below the pink color that's above it. All right, so now we're going to bring in all the letters for the headline or for the sentiment for the title of the page. And it's going to say sisters. So I'm going to go ahead and just start dragging in all the letters. And I've opened all the files. So we're going to need 3 S's. Okay, and a T, an R. Okay, so I'm going to select all of these letters over here on the side, and I'm going to come to align, and I'm going to have it be, let's see, vertical centers. I'm just going to move them just a little bit. And now I can hold down the Shift key and move them off to the side. In fact, you know what? I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to move them down into the brown area so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm also going to zoom in by doing Command +, or Control + if you're on a PC. Okay, so I'm going to select each one and kind of move it off to the side, holding the Shift key so it keeps that, so they're still all aligned together. Okay, just getting them all separated so now I can start spelling the word. So I guess I'll just start from right here, and you can even use your arrow keys for a little more precision. Okay, and I'm going to select all of those together. And I don't like how all of them there are 3 letters of the same pattern, the same green color. So I'm going to go ahead and merge all the letters together and then change the color of the whole word altogether. So I'm going to merge them all again by doing Command E or Control E if you're on a PC. And then I'm going to bring in this little light pink pattern over on top of it and do a clipping mask. So it'll be Command G or Control G if you're on a PC. I'm going to make that pattern that's on the top, I'm going to make that smaller than the one that's below it because I just don't like how it's filling those letters. So I'm going to do Command T, and then it'll allow me to make that pattern smaller and move it around. And I'm just going to move it so it's right over those letters. Hit the green check mark. I'll do Command E, and that puts it down below. And I'll have sisters lined up right there. Now we're going to bring in a journaling element. And that's going about right there. We're going to draw a box for some pink paper to go behind. That's going to go about right there. Bring in the pink paper and do a clipping mask. Then I'm going to select the shape and the color. I'm going to put it behind that journaling tag. All right, now we're going to bring in this flower shape. And with the move tool selected, I'm just going to move it down here. About right there. And I don't like how the pink of the flower and the pink of the rectangle kind of meld into each other. So I'm going to change the color of the flower. So I'm going to take a light pink color. In fact, I think I'll just use that same light pink that's in the letters above. And I'm going to, let's see, first I want to make sure I'm on the right layer. Okay, I'm going to drag and drop that pattern in. I'm going to make it smaller now and have it right over the top of that flower. Hit the green check mark to lock in that size change. Now I'm going to do Command G once more, and it makes that color the light, or that makes the flower the light pink color. So now I'm going to draw the center of the flower with the ellipse tool, and we'll zoom in on this so we can see a little bit better. Holding down the Shift key, I'm going to click and drag, and the Shift key is what makes it stay a perfect circle. And then I'm going to hold down the space bar so I can move it around as I'm drawing it. Okay, so there's the shape. We're going to make it that same pink color, so I'm going to drag and drop into the document and do Command G, and now we have our flower shape. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the journaling right now. Okay, so I've got the journaling. I'm going to show you how I did the journaling, the date right up here. Okay, so I'm going to get my text tool. I'm going to select the letters, and I'm going to make it that brown color of the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and just get the eyedropper tool and click right there. So now it will be brown. Look at the move tool, and I'm going to move it up above the tag. And I'm going to make it quite a bit larger as well. And then I'm going to get the corner where it will let me rotate it. And I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and that'll make it so it rotates perfectly to the angle I want. I'll slide that in there and hit the green check mark. And now we have the date in there just perfectly. So I'm going to add some shadows. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to select one of the layers that needs a shadow. And you have to remember, with some of these layers that we filled with colors, you have to add the shadow to the actual shape and not the color layer. So like right here for the flower, and I don't want to have it be that pink color. I want it to be the flower that's beneath it. So I'm going to come up here to the effects palette, and I'm going to add a shadow just by double clicking. And then I'm going to edit that effect by double clicking on the FX icon on the layer. And now I'm going to just adjust the shadow. Okay, I'll hit OK, and now I can right click on that layer and do copy layer style, and now I can select other layers and just paste layer style, and it puts that right in there without me having to edit every single effect. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to all the layers that need shadows. Okay, and that's our page for today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.